When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everybody. This is Mark with the Fearless Mindset Podcast, and today we are talking to the TV personality, Barbara Majeski, and she joins us from New Jersey, and she's got her camo hat ready to do some damage over there. She's getting ready for her Today Show appearance, and thanks for being here, Barbara, and thanks for sharing your time. I know you're a busy businesswoman over there, and let's hear from you.
Hey, Mark, I'm so happy to be here. And you're always so supportive and add so much to the rooms on Clubhouse, your experience, your insight, and your succinct ability to get things said in sound bites. I really respect. So yeah, I'm honored to be here, Mark.
Well, you know, I have to give you a plug.
Okay.
I got this.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, you can't there. I'll do it for you.
Okay, you got it. I can't do
Cheers.
it.
Cheers.
I got the 14-day challenge book, and it's autographed in the book, folks. Right there, it's autographed right there by Barbara.
On the back.
In the back, and it's all fancy design. I actually did a class with Forbes yesterday on my pitch, so that was
nice.
3 hours of that yesterday on my Sunday day off, and so it came in handy. And join Barbara's 14-day challenge. It will help you in your health.
Yes. Well, I'm so grateful you did that. First of all, those 14-day challenges were really intensives because I was very engaged. And now I do 14-day self-directed challenges. So I'm not able to be as involved, but the component that you're addressing is journal writing, because you're 42% more likely to hit your goals by writing it down. So I'm this practice what you preach. Water and journaling, doing very basic things leads to macro results. So I'm glad you joined it, and thanks for promoting.
Of course, I had to get in that circle. We all know we've gone through COVID. Everybody's sick of talking about it. Now we're talking about Delta and all that nonsense, and it's just crazy right now. And there's a lot of couples that are struggling right now. And you personally have gone through some trauma. You've been married, you got kids, and you went through a nasty divorce. What kind of hope can you give to these ladies out there that are looking for some inspiration, some guidance on what am I going to do?
Yeah, I think that, collectively, we've all been kind of punched in the gut with COVID. I don't know a single person that hasn't been negatively affected in one way or another, whether it's just through their careers, their personal life, just the way that we're navigating the world. And people have been, tragically impacted by COVID, which leaves a lasting mark. And, for me, my backstory is I survived stage 3 colon cancer in my 40s and I was diagnosed just on the heels of my marriage falling apart. So I was battling really a broken heart and cancer simultaneously, and it was it was not a battle for the weak. But what I've learned is that tough times don't last, and tough people do. And when you're going through hell, like I think Winston Churchill says it, when you're going through hell, keep going. And it's important sometimes to know, somebody said this to me, these are kind of little quips that sometimes you have to just listen to and just have faith and surrender, they're not wrong. I remember somebody saying the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And when you hear that, when you're going through something difficult, you're like, oh, there is only one option. I actually can't I want to end the pain. I don't want to feel the suffering. Is this ever going to stop? I felt like I was hemorrhaging. And she said, the only way out is through. And that I felt like, all right, then I have to keep going and putting one foot in front of the other. And, now I'm on the other side and I could not be happier. Not that I don't have my tough days, but or tough moments or tough hours or tough situations, but definitely more equipped to keep the feet moving forward.
How did that change you from the old Barbara to the new Barbara? What's the difference between the two?
Oh God, before I went through cancer and my marriage falling apart, I was one of the most judgmental, sanctimonious, I stood on ceremony. Like I was so busy checking boxes, white knuckling my life. Like if I just do everything right, nothing go wrong. And this is the way you do things. And that's the way you don't do things. And everything was black and white. And somebody I saw did something outside of there's a right box and there's a wrong box. If somebody checked the wrong box, they were like, in my mind, I would judge them harshly in, whether I verbalized it or I said it within myself. And then what I have learned, because the universe has a funny way of really teaching you things, because I did at one point remember hearing myself say, if that ever happened to me, I would never do that. And so that was one of the lines that I would hear myself. And now I can hear the old me realizing I'm like, no, you don't get to use that anymore because you've never walked the walk. And same thing with cancer. I would say things like, I would never do chemo. I would do holistic, natural, because I'm so, whatever. Let me tell you something, when you're confronted with a late stage cancer, you're going to take the strongest bullet you can so that you can, get it out of you. And I had 3 young kids. So through these really difficult times, they became very transformative. So I like to look at these challenges not happening to me, but they ended up happening for me, because the person I am today, I would never be without access to that journey. And although it was difficult, I am truly grateful for it, because I no longer stand on ceremony that there's right and wrong. And and in any of my master classes, one of the key components for me of living your best life is actually suspending negative judgment and replacing it with compassionate understanding, because you can't not judge things. Otherwise, you're going to walk into oncoming traffic. That you can come from a point of saying, you know what, everyone's battling something I know nothing about, and take a beat with maybe your own lens and realize, you know what, you only see a fraction of what they're going through. And when you suspend and you offer grace and compassion to the universe, to everybody around you, you release obstacles that are inhibiting you from abundance, happiness, success. You don't realize it, but all of these they're actually weighing you down. It's a negative vibration. It's a slower vibration. It's sludgy. I just made that up. And I think I'm going to use it. A sludgy vibration. And it's so true. When you all of a sudden suspend all of it and you just grace and compassion, you're not just extending it out to everyone. It actually is. It's like the more you give, the more you get. It's like all of a sudden, like you're like, you do you, and you just be, I don't know what that's like. You choose you. And fortunately, I think that the person I am today, I feel much more comfortable in my own skin, because I've really shed layers of myself that were inhibiting opportunities and abundance for myself. So that's, again, if you can grow through what you go through, man, you can be a higher existing version of yourself, at a much younger stage in your life. Don't wait. Just change now.
That was a very cheap counsel session by Barbara on how to get through adversity. And that was free due to the podcast and her generosity. But, I can relate to what you went through, Barbara, because my dad had stage 4 brain cancer. And I watched him go through that. And I went through this hardcore Marine tough guy I was broken, shattered, and then became so gracious. I'm like, what happened to me in 3 years?
Yeah. I'm sorry about your dad. That one's really tough. That's real. Cancer's a bitch. That's tough. I always, it's funny. You go through your own cancer and you're like, you hear about that. And you're like, no, that's so much worse. I'm sorry. That one's, and Semper Fi for.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's get on a more upbeat topic. But it's reality. It's what we all face. That's the reality of Earth. That's the reality of life, whether you like it or not. But that's made you who you are, and that's probably what pushed you to what you're doing now. It's just
can we tap into that before we move on? Because
absolutely.
a negative topic as much as it can be a very clarifying topic, a real like, you know what, you're so right. Why am I getting somebody that's listening right now is lost in the sauce. You are focusing on something that isn't serving you, isn't serving your family, but you're on some sort of gerbil wheel and you're like, can't, and it's like time to stop, because the truth in what you dealt with your father and what I've dealt with cancer as well, and everyone that is listening, we collectively have this. We have to remember that we have to face our own mortality, and it's okay. It's not depressing unless you look at it as depressing, because this is a fact of life. We're all ending up in the same place. This is not something that I'm trying to, impress anybody or depress anybody. As much as I'm trying to impress upon everyone is that, life is precious and we don't know where it, most of us don't know. And we shouldn't wait until we're confronted with our own mortality before we swipe left on negative self-talk, on, dialogue and people that are no longer serving us, that are slowing us down, energetic patterns that are inhibiting our opportunity to grow personal wealth and happiness and success and great relationships. Like, what the hell's, where are your blocks? And maybe it's time to confront them so you can start living your best life today. And, just like take that aggressive measure of like, I say swipe left because I'm single. That's on like dating apps. And I'm always like, is that only on dating apps? And I'm so entrenched in that world. But swiping left for all those that are happily married and dating land means that's a no go. Next profile. So anyway, that's
amen. Well said.
Right? I think it's important. It's not a depressing topic. It's something to take a beat on and be like, you're right. And that's not serving me. I'm at, like, whether it's negative people or just, that crap that you're in your head, you're cycling over that, like, went on 3 days ago. It's over. It's the rearview mirror smaller than the front shield. Like, you're supposed to be looking ahead. You're not going that way. Stop it. We all have those mixtapes. Like, I'm like, press pause.
Well said.
40s mixtape. Who says that?
Yeah, you said something very, very masterful, though. We have the moment now. We got to take the moment that we have now. For me and my business, I've had business partners and stuff. And, if you have cancer or drama in your life, just snip it. Like, snip, get it out. Life's too short. Don't put up with toxic relationships that don't bring you up or lift you up. And so...
and it's hard because we dance with the devil that we know. And, I say that relationships, just because relationships aren't permanent, doesn't mean they're successful. And there just comes a point where relationships might not be serving anymore. My marriage was not, I don't call it a failure. I learned a lot. We have 3 amazing kids. It's only a failure if you don't learn lessons and take away. But it was like, and what was so great about going through cancer is I was like, this isn't working. Like, we suck. Like, we suck as a couple. Like, why are we doing this? And it wasn't something I wanted to model to my kids. Divorce was very hard. It was really harder than cancer. But, we have to go through you got to go through boot camp, right? For all those that are in the military, but you always come out of boot camp stronger. You're stronger mentality. Like, the byproduct is you look better, you're leaner, your muscles, but how you're able to apply that and extrapolate that out throughout your life is incalculable, because you can always say, listen, I did that. I remember I wanted to quit that, but I didn't. And I got through that. I can get through this. So the applications are really, really, really priceless. So
the military definitely gives me the foundation to give me the strength to get through that adversity, because I had that foundation of boot camp. That was miserable. And then you go through active training, and then you're in your schooling and all that. And then if you have issues come up, like, you always regurgitate to your foundation of a boot camp and how miserable that was. I'm like, well, I'm done with this. But like, when I was going through cancer with my dad, I'm like, this is worse than boot camp. This is horrible. This is like walking through hell on earth. Don't they say if you're, what's that saying? If you are going through misery or something like that, don't get a hotel in hell or whatever. I can't paraphrase it correctly.
And you know what? That's whatever quote that is. And I haven't heard that, but it is so true. And some people set up camp in these spaces of misery. And they actually, that's where their campsite is. And that's where they actually find their comfort zone as I am, but they don't realize it. They feel like a victim. And, sometimes it's time to pack up that tent, clean up your mess, leave it nicer than when you left it. Cause you're a Boy Scout, but now time to move to a victor. Like, you're not a victim. Like, you choose. I'm not a victim of divorce. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor of cancer. And, I'm a victor. Like, I'm on the other side. Like, I had I say three grown men. I include my ex-husband in it. That I had three grown men aggressively coming at me every week in the divorce. He hired celebrity attorneys that were unbelievable. They were so good. And they were so aggressive with me, and I got the snot beat out of me. I could not, my attorney was terrible. It was just a terrible scene. And the facts are the facts. She actually never did her due diligence. She believed them. She was older. She was done. She didn't like stay-at-home women. Like, the whole story is terrible. It was like terrible. And it's not an ageism thing. I think she just was checked out. She just had done her work. And I stood for everything she didn't respect, which was, I was a stay-at-home mom at that stage in my life, which I have a whole thing on that, of how we need to change that paradigm, but anyway, I had three grown men really coming at me, and the takeaway, and they were, oh my God, we're talking Tom Cruise, Katie Holmes attorneys. They were so good. $1,500 an hour attorneys, up against Babs has never even been attorney, but I ended up coming out like just tough as nails. And I don't look at it as a victim, because number one, I stood tall in the pocket and I finished out strong. But the other thing is, now I'm able to draw upon muscles, and I'm so grateful for it, because I had a recent incident. So I'm into real estate now. And there was an incident, and it was going to go to the mat. Like, I was like, I guess we're going to have to, if they don't like what I'm doing, I'm going to take it to, I'll take it to attorneys. And it was like the first time ever in my life. And I'm in my late 40s. I was like, you can't, I'm like, what do you do? We're going to go to court? Are you going to hurt? You send me a letter? You're going to take me in front of a judge? I was like,
oh, well,
you can't hurt me. But I used to be such a contortionist, people pleaser. I don't want anyone to be mad, and I want to make everyone happy. And all of a sudden I was like, turns out everyone else's happiness is no longer my responsibility, and I can't make other people happy. No matter what I do, I'm probably going to piss people off. So all of a sudden I was able to navigate this very, very tricky circumstance with these muscles of like, come at me. Like, and I was like, well, who are you? And I was like, well, who I am is, you can't, I'm okay to step into my power, and whatever you're going to come at me with, like going through your own boot camp, is whatever you got for me. I got the muscles to go ahead and deal with it. After what I went through, I'm like, you really can't hurt me. So, again, it's like that full circle of like that. Okay. That sucked while I was going through it, but I'm not going to stay in the victim. I'm going to take the lessons and move on. And too many people set up camp in a negative camp. And I could be really bitter about these attorneys. I could be really bitter. But I'm not. I'm going to be better, and I'm a better person for it. And I now have I think it's in more of a Buddhism philosophy. Thank them for the challenges. Like, namaste. Thank you for those challenges. I will take the lessons and move forward. So I have nothing but gratitude for it. And I'm on higher ground now.
That's a powerful story. I mean, of all the ladies listening to that, I mean, you can get through it. And if you're a guy going through a divorce, I mean, it's not the end of the world. And if you're going through COVID, it's not the end of the world. And Barbara just gave a great example of facing off some big monsters from, Hollywood attorneys. And wow, that's a great story. And,
and just for anyone that's listening, you got to be careful of the narratives in your head and how they're serving you. Like, you're either playing a tape of empowerment or victimhood. Those are, because everyone's listening has been through some level of trauma and tragedy, and really just people have wronged everybody. We've all been wronged. but it's really how we're reshaping. What are the lessons? What muscles have I grown? Have I grown bitter? Like, are you bitter or are you better? Like, I am not bitter over my marriage. Do you think some tapes hurt? Listen, there was some things that were not quite kind, and really hurt but I don't feel like spending my life being miserable. So, and there ain't no revenge like living your best life. Mark, ain't no like going on the Today Show. You think you can hide from me? I'm gonna go on your TV. I think there's nothing like living like
Right.
that's it. Like, go live your best life and show everyone like, yeah, that's okay. You tried to hurt me, but oh, look at me. Booyah. So
They say 10 feet tall and bulletproof. No one can steal my dream. I love that. I love that phrase.
Love that. I love that. Love that. And that's a choice.
Barbara, you exemplify the show, The Fearless Mindset. You just exemplify that. That's why I was drawn to you and your strength.
Well, I appreciate that.
And so you got the fearless mindset, and it showed that in your adversity. You overcame that. And you're also fearless in business when you're the sales director in that business that you're in, built it from scratch, built a huge organization. You were a superpower there, and then also you're a superpower in TV personality and what you're doing in the Today Show. Which one do you like more? Do you like the Today Show, or did you thrive in that business world of overcoming?
Oh my God, that's such a crazy question because that was in my 20s. And okay, so here's the thing I'm going to start with the fearless, and then I'm going to answer that question with what I enjoy most about both of those endeavors. And I have to write notes because, things fall out of my brain. Thanks to chemo. I do have like, sometimes I'm like, that's a really good thought. And then I forget it.
Okay, no problem.
As far as fearless goes, the truth is I fear, and Molly Dare says it best. It was a good friend of mine. She says, I just fear less. Instead, we all feel the fear. And there's that great quote, which is, I feel the fear and I do it anyway. And I am with fear all the time, and I'm with doubt all the time, and self-doubt. And I hear myself sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this? And it makes me so nervous. And what am I doing? I have all the same thoughts as everyone else. And it is the common human experience to be insecure. So I am collective with everybody else in feeling these emotions. It's just how I transcend them and not allow them to paralyze me all the time, because they do paralyze all of us. And we do have moments where we're just literally deer in headlights. So I think that's so important, because I sometimes think I have more fear than anybody out there, but I don't know. On the other side of fear is that exhilaration and that experience. And sometimes, what on the other side of that fear is actually living out what you've been afraid of, like humiliating yourself and like living to tell the tale. Like, I told a story recently where I was in a boardroom with those attorneys, my ex-husband with his 2 attorneys and me with my 1, and it was going terribly. They were just beating the snot out of me. And in all my drama, I was doing the drama thing. Okay. So hear me out on this. So I pack up my stuff mid-sentence. They're talking and they're just beating the snot out of me, making up stories, doing all their jazzy pants things. And I'm packing up my stuff, putting it in my little tote. And I'm like, we're done here. And I stand up and I push my chair out and I go to open the door, and I think it swings towards me or it swings out, and it swung in the opposite direction. So instead of opening the door, I walked into a glass door. I walked into the glass door. So in like all of my drama and humiliation, it just was like, but I was like, I just walked into a glass, and I was so humiliating, and everyone's snickering at me and laughing, and I was totally humiliated. And then just figured out how, and then like stormed off, like Gone with the Wind, blah, like I was horrible. And they're just laughing, like, what a tool. Like, first of all, I was getting the snot beat out of me. They were using things against me that were inapplicable. Nothing matched. I was like, this is such a crime scene. My attorney was like napping. I mean, whatever. When they do the movie on this has to make the scene. listen, I was humiliated and I can now have a story to share. So I get to like, great, if I go on TV and humiliate myself next week, I will be an internet sensation. Okay. So I just am okay with making an ass out of myself. But it won't stop me. I'm aligned with great purpose. I know why I'm doing this. I know that I get all the feels. I even get to feel humiliated. Guess what? When somebody else goes through something like that, I'll be like, I got you. I did this on TV. I did that in front of attorneys and my ex-husband while he's already got a girlfriend and a whole life. And I'm just a crime scene, the whole thing. I'm just a disaster. Mark, I'm a disaster, but I'm still living my best life. But the other thing is then I just totally took this conversation, but you asked me.
It's okay. Go for it. Roll with it. So
you asked me like which career, my sales career or my television career. There's a dynamic in both careers, in any career, where I feel most fulfilled and I feel like I'm really connecting. And that's when I feel that I am helping others. And what I mean by that is when I changed the paradigm when I was running my sales organizations, and I changed the concept of like, well, how can I help this person? And realized that my success was really a byproduct in helping others. And I'm very passionate about teaching people the fundamentals of sales, because if you're teaching people sales the right way, it's about listening twice as much as you speak. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. It's also building relationships, playing the long game, not being in there for the 1 minute, turn and burn, but understanding playing the long game. And it's so much about relationships. So the fundamentals of sales, just like boot camp, to me is this must do a pillar of your career. Like you must learn how to do cold call, straight commission sales. That's what I'm passionate about, because I believe it gives you skills to extrapolate throughout your life. So when I change that, like I got to hit sales numbers, I got to sell, I got to make money, I got to sell. And I was like, all right, that's going to be the byproduct. My business grew exponentially like you can't imagine, because really every interaction, even when it came to tough love, when I'd sit somebody down and I was like having a hard conversation, and I would have hard conversations, like bottom line them, did come from a place of like, shit or get off the pot. Like you're not doing anybody, but you're just because you're good looking. You ain't because I don't need no, decor in my office. So, and that's the same thing with my work on TV in really that 3-dimension, people understanding like, I launched this career in my 40s. And if I share that, and all of a sudden it's like people are like in their 30s or their 20s, I don't care, in their teens and in their 60s, their 90s, but I inspire them to all of a sudden say like, well, if she can fall out of the sky and go on the Today Show, then I can put my art in a gallery. And you know what? I can go to law school. And you know what? I can divorce my husband because he's not, or my wife or whatever. And I can move the needle in my life to higher ground. And I think that's where anything that I do, if I serve and help others live their best life, then I feel most rewarded.
The feedback I get from Clubhouse, the people I talk with behind the scenes, you're the most inspirational person on there.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I do try. I think inspiration or being inspired is just when you learn something, I think it's such a byproduct also of like, oh, that makes sense. Like when something makes sense, you're like, oh, I'm inspired. Or you look at yourself and you're like, oh yeah, I'm the one with the negative self-talk. I'm the one, and you're like, all right, let me get to it. So I appreciate that.
And also another one I hear is you're very humble and authentic. I hear that too.
Oh, I appreciate. This is the best podcast ever.
We'll pump you up.
Better than therapy.
We're prepping you for the Today Show.
Like, you're screwed. Okay, you need to change this, and you need to do that, and I'm like, I'm going to podcast all week with you, Mark, and
let's do it. This is great.
Go back to like any therapist will be like, Mark thinks I'm amazing.
That's right. You have a family over there that goes, go Barbara. They're cheering for you. And I think that's why you connect. I see you work the rooms in Clubhouse. I see how you identify people. You know these people, but you masterfully do your Barbara thing. You get on Clubhouse and you're such a great leader and you know psychology, you know personality so well, and you just go, it's the way your mind works. It's like science and magic. I don't know. I can't explain.
That is so kind. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get out of my room at the end of this. I appreciate that. I can only say that I will say, I don't know what I can say after this, but I think I attract people a lot like myself. So I'm only like, I do feel there's this quote, your vibe attracts your tribe. So I end up in these rooms or these, accountability challenges. And I'm never surprised by the energy. I find it very familiar. And yeah, I know I appreciate that, but I think I'm more of a reflection on the people that I surround myself with. And I think that's what people are saying. I'm like, no, I just bring in what you see is in me is actually the reflection of you. So I appreciate that, but I think it's like, I have that is, I'll say maybe that's my gift. So I think we all bring in that. We bring in like attracts like. Well, I'm just off the whips today. I mean, hashtag whips, Bev.
This is great. So you're getting ready for when does the Today Show air, your appearance?
So this appearance is September 22nd. So this Wednesday on the Hoda and Jenna Hour. I usually do a Halloween segment for them as well. And I think that is soft booking October 29th, and I might be back in the studio. Oh, and Mark, we talk about this all the time. So for anybody that's listening, when I get booked and we're on the plaza, everyone's coming. Like, we're all going to go to the plaza. We're going to make it something so awesome, because I haven't been on the plaza since 4th of July. I don't even know, 2019, because we went into lockdown 2020, maybe 2019. Maybe 2018. I don't remember the last time I've been on the plaza. But when I go back to the plaza, all my friends are coming, right? How fun would that be?
I'll come. I'll fly out.
Yeah, I'll make everyone like, we'll just do something amazing.
Something fun.
We'll bring our journals and our water.
That's right. The journal club.
Yeah.
So do you go ahead?
I need to write that down. I want the plaza. I miss
There you go. Manifestation.
Yep.
I got that from Forbes yesterday. So you're a contributor on TV personality, and you're also working on a movie, I hear. No, not yet.
I don't think so. Oh, I'm working on a book. On a book, and I always say, Mark, that's funny. I'm like, there's a movie?
Really?
About me? The one thing I'm not is an actress. I can pretty much play myself because I got that down. I always say, I'm writing a book. I'm working with Sharon Lecter on writing a book, and all the stories that I've been able to share on Clubhouse are taking form in chapters. So, the pool story that I talk about, or even the attorneys and what I took away. So that's all going to be chapters in the story. And I always just envision a movie, and a movie, because it's like the movie, the book, The Glass Castle, which is just, it's a really good book. But I think when you read stories of people that have overcome and built themselves from the ground up, and just, I know it inspires others. And so I just am like, all right, let me get my story down. Because I think what people see me today, they don't understand that, I didn't, my life wasn't, there's crazy stories, but we all have crazy stories. One story that I really love is the story by Michael Orr. Do you know who that is?
I've heard of that name.
He's what The Blind Side was about. Do you
remember Michael Orr, yes.
Yes. So
my biggest crush was the actress on that. What's her name? I can't think of her name.
Yes.
I had the biggest crush on her. What guy doesn't?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra. Oh my gosh. All the guys salivate over.
She just is the W. She's a winner.
Yeah.
Dinner.
I heard she had a genius level IQ. I heard she's pretty smart.
Yeah. She just carries herself like, I got this. Like, she's done this lifetime before. But Michael Orr actually wrote his own book after The Blind Side came out, because he was like, very grateful for their TUIs and all that. But he's like, there was some Hollywoodizing his story, and he just wasn't having it. And I read his book twice. I have never read a book twice. And it's not that it was well written, because I don't particularly think it was like Shakespearean, but his story was so powerful. And he shares this message that I can't get enough of, is that the reason he wrote it, and the thread line in it, as opposed to the movie, was that because he was loved, he knew he could do great things. And his mother loved him, and his mother loved all the kids, but she just couldn't get out of her own way. She was an addict, and she couldn't ever be the provider that she wanted to be, but she loved her children. And because he knew he was loved, he knew that he could get out of, transverse his experience, like transverse. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Move up, get it, And I love that because as we're all navigating our own circumstances and our own trials and our own difficult situations and our parenting and coaching and leading companies, you come from a space of intentionality, like good intentionality, like caring about others, servitude, love, compassion, kindness. When you come from that space, you can impact people in ways that are really immeasurable. And that book, I don't know, it just landed with me. I read it twice. I'm telling you, it's not up for a Nobel Peace Prize or anything. Just Barbara Majeski finds value in people's stories. And his is just one of them. And I encourage anybody to read it. And I hope you'll read it. I haven't read it. I need to read it. I'll read it for a third time. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I hope my story does too, is that the intentionality of love and kindness lands so much better than I'm just trying to win, and, chips on our shoulders. And I don't know. And there's so many stories in there. I kind of like my humiliation stories because I think
I think your humility is your trophy.
Thank you.
I think your humility is what makes you shine. And you're probably one of the most amazing storytellers that I've heard. I mean, I was my first 4 months in Clubhouse. I'm like, boring. Then Barbara, I'm like, oh, Barbara, who's she? I didn't know who you were, to be honest with you.
No, most people didn't.
Clubhouse, it just blew you up.
Blew me up. It's been the biggest amplifier. I mean, before Clubhouse, I was on TV all the time. I was on NBC, Fox and Friends, Good Day New York, The Cheddar, like I had like 5 followers. My mother was the only one commenting on Twitter. So Clubhouse has been a real amplifier for me. And it also has made me much more 3-dimensional. And I think that's what I've always aspired for, is like, I like getting to know people. And as things start to grow, I will, I'll at least I always call it my group, on the accountability challenge, like my OGs, because I think I really have an affection for the groups that I've started. I know I have an affection because I'm like, I really got to know them, you included. And I just feel like as I grow and things start to evolve, at least I'll always have my home base, my OGs, and people that supported me when I was really just starting out and building my brand. And that's what's so cool. Like, I'll always have you, I'll always, it just is interesting where these.
Exactly. Yeah, for the OG group, or people wondering what you're talking about, Barbara, it's on Facebook. And it's a 14-day challenge that Barbara did. It's Walter, walking, and writing. And I'll be honest, I was so busy with work, I didn't get much writing in, but I did everything else. But it was accountability to get you off your rear end to do something. And because of that, I created a relationship with Barbara, be it in Facebook and then our text and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't done that, find her on Facebook, sign up with her. She'll let you know when she does another class. Follow her on Clubhouse and Instagram. She's there. And support Barbara. And it's amazing to see what Barbara's done in the last 10 years of your life. You went cancer, had a business, cancer, and then divorce, and stage 4 cancer, and it was bad. And then your dream of being on the shows, and now you're on all these shows, and it's like not everybody gets to do that, and you are just so focused.
I appreciate it. I had stage 3, which is a big difference. Stage 3, no, it's no big deal. Okay. It was. I thank God, because that would, I always say stage 3 is a little too close to stage 4. And that's the part of the accountability challenge that I do love teaching people is, writing things down and taking those small steps to move the needle. It's just, I think we see all these things on TV, like, is it Shaun T who does and these workouts are all like, you got to be like, you are not like going gung ho, like you're at war, like you're not giving enough. And I just don't ascribe to that. Like we we have to modulate, and we have to always have a baseline. So what I try to give people is a baseline for consistency that they can always go to, because these are little micro steps. And I just think like we all have those moments where we're in that like David Goggins zone and we're in that Shaun T zone, but that vibrates up here. And then we also have the antithesis where we don't want to get out of bed. We don't want to put on our sneakers. We want to just Ben and Jerry's ourselves to oblivion. These are all like the rail to rail. And we are never in both zones for very long. These red zones are 5%, 5%. How do we modulate and stay in that baseline? And that's what these micro habits are all really all about. Like, let me bring you back to the baseline. Let me bring you back to the baseline. Let's get to walking, like all these things for optimizing your mind, your body, and your spirit. That was really what it's about. Because I think this like, come on, Shaun T, and like, fine, we all go onto that pellet. We got to baseline it, and the baseline has to be consistent. And so we can recalibrate whether we, hit Goggins or, I don't even know I don't even know how to like that, the person, whatever. So I don't know. So that's just,
I'll tell you a little story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brent Gleason, who's on my podcast, Taking Point Leadership, he owns that company. He's in San Diego. He was in buzz training with David Goggins. David Goggins had to go through buzz training. I think he said like 5 times before he passed.
Wow.
The guy's insane because he was very heavy before he went in. And it's a psychological thing he's had in his head. He's very extreme. But Brent told me on the podcast, he went through buzz training like 6, 7 times. I can't remember the exact number, but that's just the determination factor of the human will. That's very powerful, like what you have.
That's the real story that we all need to draw upon, is that just because we don't get it the first time doesn't mean we should just give up, and that, keep moving the feet forward and keep learning and growing and taking the lessons. It's not he didn't fail the first time. He just was learning how to fit. He was learning,
Right.
Kids don't walk right away out of the womb. You have to get up and you fall down. And I'm much more passionate about those stories. And there was something else you tapped in.
Sure. Go ahead. Go for it.
I love this conversation because we spent a lot of time on Clubhouse, so I feel like this is just a combo.
Yeah, exactly.
I tapped into being a stay-at-home mom, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. And prior to that, I ran my sales organization in my 20s. And then after I, battled cancer and my divorce, I was like, I don't want to let life get me by. I want to get into television. And so many times I hear people say, well, what about that, gap on your resume? And I want to be so much part of this new conversation of like, I don't have a gap on my resume, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't have a gap on my resume. You know what? I was a stay-at-home mom. My resume is amplified because I was a stay-at-home mom. The things that I learned and that I had to do, but I think just sometimes we, as a society, women too, this isn't a man, woman, or anything. This is just as a society. It's like we snicker at the stay-at-home mom, or we minimize it, and that they call that a gap. When women say that, or men, or there's a gap in my resume, just end me. On my LinkedIn, one of my job titles is I am Senior Director of Domestic Operations. That's me. I'm the mother. I'm like, I am Julie McCoy, the cruise director. I'm a psychologist. I'm a motivational speaker here in the Majeski household. Get my kids excited about picture day and doing the sports and like, oh my God, do we become better humans? Like motherhood or being a stay-at-home mom spits you out the other side, a higher level version of whatever you started with. So we have to, I just am dropping that because if anybody is listening and they took a pause, or they think they took a pause, it's not a pause. We're going to reshape that. Okay. We're going to rebrand the stay-at-home mom collectively. And I'm willing to take calls and DMs about rebranding the stay-at-home mom. We're never going to call it a gap in a resume. I will literally highlight as my feature. I'm a feature. That's my feature. I got a lot of features. I got a lot of humiliation and features, and I got all the things. So anyway, I had to loop back on that because I think there are sometimes people are afraid to do that because they'll like miss out and it's total FOMO, but you do you. That's what my message. Do you. I did it.
I see a lot of, in Clubhouse especially, I see a lot of women that seems like they have guilt. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like they feel guilty for not being a corporate title of something. And, the position of motherhood, that's a full-time job plus a full-time job plus a full-time job.
And it tenfold. And the great part that I always bring full circle is that because you were a stay-at-home mom and you learned how to assemble pack and plays and high chairs and car seats, you now know that you can learn how to do anything. So you take that assembly of a car seat, an installation of a damn car seat, you were able to learn that. Well, then you can learn anything on this interwebs that you need to do with the new Google, Schmoogle, and all the Zoom. Like that was the thing, like re-navigating, when I left the workforce, the technology has evolved over a decade and it was a little intimidating. And I still am a little bit of a crime scene on certain things, but there's nothing you can't learn. If you can learn how to install a car seat, that's it. You're done. You are literally, that's it. You can put yourself through medical school. I'm just saying. That's all.
Boom. Mic drop by Barbara.
And I bet everybody who's listening is agreeing, because they're like, I had to put a high chair together once and it nearly ended me, but then I completed it and now I can launch satellites. I'm just, somebody scared me on this. I don't know who it is. DM me. You're right, that please. I can literally launch satellites. Thank you. Put together a high chair.
That was Saturday Night Live with Barbara Majeski on the podcast. It is. Now, Barbara, where can people find you? I mean, where's your best place for them to find you? If they want to book you, they want to talk to you, they want to schedule you for a class or something.
I have a website. It's barbaramajeski.com. So you want to register your email there, because then you're going to find out all the jazzy things that I do, whether it's Clubhouse, Today Show, or whatever. I am active on Instagram and TikTok. If you DM me on LinkedIn, you're going to wait.
Well,
you're going to, I think the best way is to actually email me.
Email you on your website.
Give me some time, because I'm slow to respond, but I'm a good person. You said you're doing real estate. You got the Today Show, you're a contributor on, and you're a mom. You're busy. You're slammed. I think we all are. I try to, I just try to do my best sometimes, better than others, for sure. But I'm happy. I'm happy. Nothing's perfect and all that.
That was a compliment, Barbara. That was a compliment.
Thank you.
I didn't know you did real estate. I had no idea you were into real estate. Okay.
I'm mildly obsessed. I'm actually thinking about getting my realtor's license, my real estate license, not to be a realtor, but to just educate myself a little further. And again, now that I've learned how to launch satellites, I can get my. You
can do anything. You can be an astronaut next round.
You never know.
Jump on the SpaceX program with Elon Musk, and I'm sure he'll take you up.
I don't know. I might pass on that, but you never know. You never know, Mark. You never know.
So yeah, if you want to get a hold of Barbara, reach out. Now, do you have an agent that works with you for all your TV stuff, right? Should they contact your agent if they want to book you on something?
No, just go through barbaramajeski.com. It'll go to there's an email. It's hello at Barbara Majeski. And my assistant handles anything. So if anybody wants to book me, I do speaking engagements. And of course, television appearances, and all the fun stuff. And I do work with different brands on different things. So God only knows. And I buy real estate and I hang out with Mark.
You hang out with me on a podcast on a Monday afternoon or Monday morning, wherever you are. And I actually took time off of work so I could do this with Barbara, because I know how busy she is and I have a good team supporting me. And that's where I got the Instagram t-shirt, because I actually had 20 guys working for Facebook about a year ago down there after they had an active shooter.
Well, I need your help on the Instagram stuff. So I'm gonna think about it. If anybody's there, you never know.
Gotta find out who my connections are. We gotta go back. Okay, who's down there that can help us out? I'm thinking I know some people. But anyway, thanks for coming on the Fearless Mindset, Barbara. Thank you for your time. I know it's very valuable, and have a blast. We'll be supporting you on the 22nd on the Today Show. And if anybody wants to get a hold of her, you can through me and or what she just told you on the video here. So that's all we got. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Fearless Mindset.